For centuries, sports have played an integral part of our culture. Moving, collaborating, competing, celebrating. We rally around our athletes, lift them up, and admire their awe-inspiring moments and stories that give us hope. The nature of traditional sports is shifting, and we have the power to be forces for change and redefine the game. No matter whether our talents lie on the court, in the lab, or with the controller in hand, there's an athlete inside each and every one of us. Let's work together to champion every sport and every person that plays the game. It's time for us to revolutionize the way we play and move. It's time to be game changers.
Good morning, robot fans, and welcome to the 2020 Illinois First Tech Challenge Kickoff. My name is Ryan, and with me is Corey, and today we are going to be learning about the challenge that all First Tech Challenge teams worldwide will be tackling during the 2020-2021 First Game Changers season Ultimate Goal presented by Qualcomm.
In addition to seeing the reveal and learning about this season's game, we'll also be using our time today to learn some new tips and tricks that can help a team be successful during the upcoming competition season. We'll then check out some examples of Illinois First Tech Challenge teams being game changers in their own communities before our season has even begun.
We can't go much further without addressing the elephant in the room. This is not your ordinary First Tech Challenge kickoff. For the past 6 months, we have all collectively been living in unprecedented times. The COVID-19 pandemic cut the first season short and canceled the first championship. The pandemic sent us home from school and introduced us all to things like video meetings and remote learning. It has not been an easy time, but throughout this adversity, First Illinois teams have shown their strength and partnered with their community to be part of the solution to the problems posed by the pandemic.
A countless number of teams have donated their time and their 3D printers to craft personal protective equipment for frontline medical workers. Teams have moved to meeting online so that they can continue to learn and grow together. Dozens of teams have partnered with community groups to find ways to support their neighbors with things like canned food drives and creating apps that help connect people during the national change shortage. COVID-19 is just more proof that FTC teams can rise to any challenge, no matter how large, and show their gracious professionalism along the way.
In just over an hour, we will be learning about the new challenge that our teams this season will be participating in, Ultimate Goal presented by Qualcomm. While we wait for the game reveal to go live, we have some excellent videos to show you all, including presentations on the engineering notebook and prototyping process from 2 Illinois teams. We also have details on what we can expect this season from First Illinois Robotics when it comes to our competitions to ensure that all students and teams can compete safely. After the kickoff reveal, we are going to go live to First Tech Challenge Illinois Director Jonathan Wieland to see a field in person, and our state head referee Kat Svoboda will be available to take your questions about Ultimate Goal. Throughout all of this, don't forget to share your team's thoughts, predictions, and reactions in the Twitch chat and on Twitter using the hashtag ILFTC.
And with that, we would like to share with you a welcome from the Executive Director of First Illinois Robotics, Dan Green.
Hello, and welcome to the kickoff for the 2020-2021 First Tech Challenge season. I'm Dan Green, the Executive Director for First Illinois Robotics. I've been impressed by what I've seen most of you doing during this crazy COVID experience and love the grace with which we've seen you handling things. Speaking of grace, I'd like to speak a bit about one of our, if not our key core values here in First, and that's gracious professionalism. As most of you know, we lost a key important member of the First family the last year. That's the godfather of competitive robotics. He was one of the co-founders of First Robotics and a spiritual advisor for First, Professor Woody Flowers. He was a great influence to us here in First, a mentor to many, and the creator of the phrase and the concept of gracious professionalism. I like to say gracious professionalism is acting like your grandmother is watching you on national TV at all times. This year, gracious professionalism is important more than ever because we're going to be doing self-scoring. We are counting on you to all do your best to help make this a fair and excellent experience for everybody. Additionally, to help out, we're making arrangements so that teams will have an opportunity to chat with and ask questions to our head ref here in Illinois. Now, to help get you in the spirit of things, here is a video by Woody to talk a little bit more about gracious professionalism as only he can.
While I do not think carefully defining gracious professionalism is essential, talking about it is very important. I think one of the main strengths of gracious professionalism is its dual modality. Gracious is mostly about feelings, both yours and those of others. Professionalism is mostly about knowledge and its application for good. Combining the two is important, so learn everything you can and experience helping others as often as you can. Being an effective contributor is a huge part of feeling good about yourself. Rational self-esteem is a big deal, and it is a likely outcome from practicing gracious professionalism while busting your chops in First. That's good stuff.
Thank you, Dan, for that video and for reminding us of the importance of gracious professionalism this season. This is going to be a season unlike any other we have experienced before. The deadlines and challenges of the FTC season are stressful enough as it is, without the added difficulty of remote meetings, socially distanced build sessions, and remote events. Through it all, it's important to remember to be flexible and to show our gracious professionalism. Both qualities are more important than ever and will be key in ensuring our teams have a great time this season.
Moving forward with our program today, we have a team-led workshop about the First Tech Challenge Engineering Notebook to share with all of you. The Engineering Notebook is an incredibly important tool for a team throughout the entire First Tech Challenge season. It allows them to document the story of their season and all of the engineering decisions that are made along the way. Well-written and detailed engineering notebooks are fundamental parts of the engineering design process and also play a huge role in FTC judged awards.
The Think Award recognizes teams who have created exemplary engineering notebooks, so there really is no one better to teach us about engineering notebooks than the winners of the Think Award at the 2020 First Tech Challenge Illinois State Championship, Team 6007 89 Degrees out of Crystal Lake. Take it away.
Hi, we're FTC Team 6007 89 Degrees. In this video, we will be discussing tips to make your engineering notebook as useful as possible for both your team and any judges who may view it. We will also present tips for a successful judging presentation.
Before we begin, we would like to make it clear that the information in this video is based on materials available from the Skystone season. Some requirements and recommendations may change when the Ultimate Goal Game Manual is released. Therefore, we strongly recommend referring to the current season's manual while developing your notebook.
The purpose of the engineering notebook is to document a team's season, including the process a team takes to get from their ideas to their final robot and the various things the team did to promote both FIRST and their team to their community. The notebook is one of the judges' best way to get to know a team. It should show the team's journey in detail. In addition, the notebook should be a useful tool for the team itself. It can allow the team to find information and decisions covered in previous meetings, or to help a team member who missed a meeting catch up.
There are some requirements that all notebooks need in order to be considered for awards. Teams cannot submit more than 2 notebooks at a competition, and each notebook cannot be larger than a 3-inch binder. You must put your team number on the outside front cover of your notebook. All notebooks should have a team summary page, a team plan, engineering content, information about the team, and documentation on outreach, all of which we will discuss more in depth momentarily.
Judges look at the engineering notebook for every award, and many require a specific section to exist in the notebook in order for a team to be considered for that award. The Inspire, Connect, and Motivate awards all require the notebook to have a team plan which covers the team's goals and intentions for the season. The Innovate, Design, and Control awards all require the notebook to include engineering content related to their respective award. The Think Award requires a summary page that shows the team's journey for the season, along with engineering content that shows the team has a clear understanding of the engineering design process. However, multiple sections of the notebook are considered for many awards, even if not specifically required. We recommend doing more than the minimum notebook requirements if you hope to be considered for an award.
There are multiple sections that your notebook should have to help keep it organized and make it easier for the judges to find specific information. The first section is the team summary. The team summary is a brief description of your team at the front of the notebook, which allows judges to quickly see what makes your team stand out. This section should include your team number, a summary of your team, school, or organization, and any highlights of the season. It should also include an index of noteworthy or important pages so that the judges can easily find them. To make this easier for the judges, we also recommend putting labeled tabs on the page so the judges can quickly flip to them. When choosing those pages, consider that the judges have limited time to look at every notebook. Although you can highlight as many pages as you want, the more pages you choose, the less time the judges will have to look at each page. So you will want to make sure that you highlight only the most important pages. While the team summary isn't required to be in the notebook, it is an excellent tool to make sure you emphasize the most important things you did throughout the season.
The next section is the team plan. This section states your team's purpose or objective for the season, including short and long-term goals and how to meet them. In general, the team plan usually includes one or more of the following: the business plan, the strategic plan, or the sustainability plan. The purpose of the business plan is to express how you plan to manage your team, what your fundraising or outreach goals are, and to identify areas of responsibility for your team members. The strategic plan is intended to lay down the specific details about how you intend to meet your goals. The goal of the sustainability plan is to figure out how you want to recruit new members to maintain your team year after year.
Outreach is a major component of FIRST, and the work your team puts into it should be reflected in your notebook. Regardless of whether you create a dedicated outreach section or include it in a more general area of your notebook, you should discuss any outreach events that you do throughout the season. All outreach events, whether with STEM professionals or prospective FIRST students or volunteers, should be included in your notebook. For each event, you should discuss what you aim to accomplish along with a description of what you did and how you felt you achieved your goals. Consider including pictures, along with any materials and activities that were made and used during each event.
Finally, there is engineering content. The engineering content should show your team's design process in detail. This includes documenting the process of designing and building the team's robot, problems the team encountered in their solutions, game strategies, calculations, and the code development process. Although you should avoid adding unnecessary detail to your notebook, there should be enough information to show progress on the robot, reasons behind decisions, and challenges. Another way of thinking about this is that an outsider should be able to read your notebook and have enough of an understanding of your team's process that they could follow the same steps that you did to get your final robot design. You should include enough pictures to give judges a good understanding of your progress over the season, such as CAD images of your robot, detailed drawings of new concepts, and pictures of your robot at various stages.
Now that we have talked about all the different sections of the notebook, we want to give you a few pieces of advice for creating your team's notebook. The first thing is that you should keep your notebook well organized. The more organized it is, the easier it is for the judges and other people to navigate and find the important information within. A consistent format and well-defined sections with meaningful titles are helpful in maintaining an organized notebook. In addition, everyone should be involved in the writing of the notebook. Writing the notebook can be a lot of work for one person to take on by themselves, and can be completed more quickly and with higher quality when everyone contributes. Additionally, having team members write about what they did can result in a greater level of detail, because those team members are most familiar with what they're writing about. We also recommend that you keep up on writing your notebook throughout the season, instead of leaving it to the last minute. Being behind on your notebook can result in a lot of work that has to be done at the last minute. The best way to avoid this is to complete each entry the day it is started, so you can ensure you don't forget anything important.
Now we will talk a little bit about the judging session. As a brief overview, the judging session is typically 15 minutes long, where you have 5 uninterrupted minutes to give your presentation, followed by time for judges to ask questions. If you go over 5 minutes with your presentation, the judges may stop you to start asking questions. All team members are required to participate. You should bring your robot, your engineering notebook, and your control award application to the judging session.
Because of the limited time for your presentation, you should make sure to start preparing with plenty of time in advance, so you can make it detailed but concise. The first thing you should consider when creating an outline or script is to make sure that you know your pitch, or what you want the judges to take away from your presentation. You want the judges to know what makes your team stand out, whether it be your robot design, outreach events, team spirit, or something else. For example, let's say your team has a very sophisticated and reliable set of programs for your robot, and you want the judges to consider you for the Control Award. Knowing the criteria found in the game manual, you can highlight things your team does that makes you a strong Control Award candidate. In addition to your pitch, visual aids are a useful tool in presentations to increase judges' understanding. You can show pictures of outreach events or different iterations of your robot to give judges a better idea of what happened.
Once you have developed your presentation, your team should practice enough that you know you can effectively present the information you want within the time that you are allotted. You could also have someone such as a coach act as a judge and ask questions after the presentation so that you are more prepared to answer a judge's questions. Practice can also give you an opportunity to improve your presentation skills. Having good presentation skills during your judging session, such as making eye contact, having good posture, and speaking loudly and clearly will make your team seem more professional, leaving a better impression on the judges.
The information shared in this video comes from a combination of places. For more in-depth information or a more direct source, we encourage you to visit the links on the slide. 89 Degrees wishes you good luck on your notebook and judging this season.
That was an awesome workshop, so thanks again to Team 6007, 89 Degrees, for putting that together for all of us. I know that it's something that the teams I mentor will find very helpful this season and for seasons to come.
Like it mentioned at the end of the video, if you want to learn more about the engineering notebook, make sure to review this year's game manual for more details. This year, there aren't any details about the engineering notebook in Game Manual Part 1, so make sure to look for them in Game Manual Part 2 when it goes live later today.
We've already spoken a little bit on how much the postseason and the off-season were changed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you can probably imagine, there will be changes made to how the upcoming Ultimate Goal season will be taking place. Teams keeping their eyes on the First Inspires website have probably already seen that First has posted game manuals describing both in-person events and remote events for this competition season.
Remote events will be something entirely new for First Challenge, and individual states are being given the ability to decide what kind of events are the best choice for the safety of their teams. With that in mind, we are now going to hear about the plan for FTC events here in Illinois this season from the director of First Tech Challenge Illinois, Jonathan Whelan.
The Ultimate Goal. My name is Jonathan Whelan. I'm the program delivery partner for the State of Illinois First Tech Challenge program. Thanks for tuning in, and I want to let you know that we have a full season of events planned. League meets in November, December, January, a league championship in February, and a state championship in late March or April. We will also offer the possibility of a late season start for teams that can't begin until January. There'll be a league championship if there's enough teams to participate. How are the events going to run? Teams run the event on their home field, solo, without another team with them. If you don't have a home field, we'll try to arrange to get you connected to a team with a field and field elements. Mentors will use the first scoring system to upload scores. You will not need to videotape your matches or upload your matches, although we will be having a monthly roundtable. We will be having a monthly event where highlight matches will be shared. If you don't have access to the scoring system, your mentors will have a paper system that they could eventually upload the scores when you get to the internet. If you can't afford the bill to get a perimeter or field elements, there are do-it-yourself options. The November and December meets are all remote. That means they'll be individually scored in solo events. In mid-December, we'll decide what's going to happen in January, but the state law currently prevents teams events with more than 50 people at one location, and we can't have any events with more than 50 people at one location. So that prevents us from having live events. The way it'll work when it comes to league meets is the entire state is in one league, and you'll have 7 days to run 6 matches. You'll use the live scoring system. You can run it as many times as you want, and when you're ready for a real match, you'll click it on, run your real match, and upload those scores. First Tech Challenge in Illinois is helping teams with some grant support. One of the things that we have are the dual drivetrain system, where you could buy 2 of these Illinois drivetrains for the price of 1, or if you have don't want this drivetrain but you build a second drivetrain, we'll credit you for $250 with documentation. We also have these expansion hubs which are available. See your Team Blast for that information. We have matching grants available for rookie, first, second, and third year teams. Again, you should let me know if you're a Title I team, a Title I school. The applications are in your email or on the website. We also have a COVID response grant of up to $100 per team to buy sanitation equipment, UV light sterilization, rubber gloves, face masks, hand sanitizers. The total amount of money is fixed, so the more teams apply, we'll make adjustments for the distribution of that money. We also have a tele-drive system that it's available so that you can be COVID safe while learning to drive your robot. All of these links are available in the Team Blast. We look forward to seeing you at the kickoff reveal in about 10 or 15 more minutes.
Thanks again to Jonathan for that preview of what we can expect this season. This season is going to be a difficult one, not just for the teams participating, but also for the volunteers who help make FIRST possible. They have a lot of difficult decisions to make to ensure that teams have the best possible experience while staying safe and healthy. Make sure to thank your volunteers wherever you interact with them this season, and don't be afraid to volunteer yourself if you have the time and want to help make this season a success.
Before we move on to our next kickoff workshop, we want to remind everyone to interact with the kickoff through the Twitch chat and our hashtag ILFTC on Twitter. Go ahead and share your predictions, your reactions, and your thoughts to our new First Game Changers season and ultimate goal presented by Qualcomm. Later in our broadcast, we're going to be highlighting some of the tweets and chats sent our way. Additionally, if you have any questions about the season or this season's game, make sure to hang on to those for our live Q&A session with Jonathan Wieland and head referee Kat Svoboda after the reveal.
Next up, we're going to have the opportunity to learn about a vital element of the engineering design process: prototyping. Prototyping ideas is what separates good robots from great robots, and it's essential to building complex designs that win matches. We're going to be learning about prototyping and design from members of the Cooper Division Winning Alliance at last season's First Tech Challenge Illinois State Championship, Team 14615, turbocharged from Oswego. Let's check it out.
Hello, we are Team 14615, turbocharged.
We are a community team, and today we will be demonstrating how we did our prototype and design processes. After the game release, we wrote down the different ways you can score. After that, we figured out what the best ways to get points are, and then focused on those points when building prototypes in our smaller groups. Such as last season, we did it, and we thought the skystone, block placement, capping, and foundation removal had the most points beneficial to us. So we got into our smaller groups and started prototyping right away.
Hello, I'm Ryan, and today I will be talking about prototype chassis. Making 2 wooden prototype drivetrains will allow multiple groups to work without having to deny access to the robot from a build group. This is a sheet of hobby plywood that we use to make the chassis. It is only $5. This is one of our modular drivetrains. We use this Andy Mark gearbox cap as a template to be able to drill out the holes and allow us to put motors anywhere on this. We use it to be able to experiment with our wheel placement. This is one of our prototype mechanisms. Using these chassis, we can easily go and screw on one of these prototypes. And at any moment we can take it off, fix it, and do whatever we need with it. This is one of our programming robots. We set it up to be able to allow our programmer to test autonomous. I'm now going to show you the basics of making a wooden chassis. First, you're going to want to design and measure the drivetrain you want. Then cut out the wood into the wanted design. When assembling the chassis, you're going to want to use wood glue along with the wood screws. We also like to go and keep a nice flat surface for our electronics. When applying the wood glue, you want to keep nice little beads along the surface of the wood. After you apply the wooden panel, you're going to want to insert the screws to make sure that it is in the correct position. And there you go. You have a temporary wooden chassis to use for prototyping.
For prototyping, we use some basic materials around our shop, such as cardboard, tape, popsicle sticks, surgical tubing, and rubber bands, and silicone material that we bought. And when we got to more advanced prototypes, we went to wood, 3D printed plastics, and various materials on this board. When you get further into your prototyping design, you can go with plywood, 3D printed plastics, surgical tubing, zip ties, and carbon fiber hockey sticks.
That's better. Hello, I'm David Gray. I'm an alumni from Team 14615 Turbocharged, and today I'll be explaining our design process and what we do throughout the season. We started our season by holding a kickoff at North Central College. Shortly after kickoff, we began working with the aforementioned wooden chassis. With the chassis assembled, we began working on intake mechanisms. As the intake team was proving their design to be a success, the lift arm team was well on their way to a working prototype. We continued to test the prototypes throughout development. and we're always sure the robot fit the constraints. We combined all the working parts on one chassis, but developed multiple chassis so that we could have side-by-side development with the programming and build teams. Not all prototypes worked. Some had to be swapped out for better alternatives. As the designs came together, we continued to develop our final chassis. We continued improving and developing our designs to get them to work in their most optimal condition. It's important to keep working towards improving your robot even after the first competition, because the challenge is only going to get steeper from there. Having left plenty of time to test the robot, we trained up our drivers to ensure that they were ready for competition. Throughout the season, we continued to develop new designs and improvements, such as a tape measure mechanism to park. With all the designs working well and the robot laid out, we began to work on the final chassis. We build our chassis out of G10, a composite material which is very strong and cost-effective, which also negates our issues we've had with static in previous seasons. With the individual parts connected to the final chassis, we conclude this brief tour of our previous season. Here are three of our designs from throughout last season. For example, our capstone, which we had designed so that the arm could grab both the block and the capstone at the same time. We found this both saved space and time on the robot and throughout the game. Speaking of the lift arm, here are two of the designs we used on performing the lift arm earlier in the season, one of which was the scissor lift, which, despite its functionality, it was rather slow and took up a lot of space, which is why we moved on to using this, which is a linear slide arm. We found it to be much more compact, faster, and capable of reaching a much higher height. It was much more effective overall, which is why we ended up using it as our final design, because that's what the design process is about, figuring out what's going to work the best, and developing it until it's working at its most optimal condition. During the design process, there's some things you need to remember. For example, you need to make sure there's enough time to test the robot before competition. It's okay to make changes and add additions to the robot to make sure it performs better, but make sure you got enough time to test it so that you can ensure it will work when it comes time for the season to start. Also, make sure you're working with your programmer. Building's only half the battle. If the program's not there, the robot's not going to work. So make sure you have enough time for them to work on the program, as well as giving them time during the development of the robot to figure out new parts.
Thank you for joining us today and listening to our presentation. We'd like to wish you luck in the upcoming season Ultimate Challenge. Will you rise up to meet the ultimate goal? Bye.
Bye. See ya. Have a good night.
Thanks again to Turbocharged Team 14615 for sharing those prototyping tips. I'm sure rookies and veterans alike will find that advice helpful both this season and in the future.
As we look forward to the changes that await us in the Ultimate Goal season, we do want to take a moment to thank all of the students, mentors, and volunteers who made the 2019-2020 FTC Skystone season possible. Last season, 191 Illinois teams competed at 43 league meet events, leading up to 7 league tournament qualifying events, and then finally the First Tech Challenge State Championship at Elgin Community College in February.
Over 1,000 1,000 Skystone qualification matches and hours of judging presentations led up to the final 3-match showdown between the Cooper and Solomon alliances and the awarding of 9 qualifying spots for Illinois teams at the first World Championship in Detroit. Let's take a look at some highlights from last season's state championship event, which included 44 teams from around Illinois and over 100 volunteers.
Last year's FTC State Championship was some of the most fun we've ever had at a first event, and we're hoping to see everyone again real soon. While there are still plenty of unknowns about the progression of the season this year, we do know that teams will rise to the challenge while prioritizing the health and safety of the entire FIRST community.
Sponsors and financial support are an important part of every team's relationship with their community. Many teams are familiar with including a budget or a business plan in their engineering notebook and hosting fundraiser events. All of us are going to be seeing some changes in our team budgets this season. So as your team prepares for ultimate goal, we highly recommend you check out the fundraising toolkit in the resource library on the First Inspires website.
Today's kickoff event is sponsored by HQC Incorporated, an injection molding shop in Oswego. Thanks to HQC for offering some technical resources that make our broadcast possible today. HQC also proudly sponsors Turbocharged FTC Team 14615, who took us through their prototyping process earlier today. Turbocharged was also lucky enough to tour HQC earlier this year. Let's take a look inside their 80,000 square foot facility.
Transformation.
I'm here at HQC with the president and founder, Mr. Andrus, and we have some questions for him. So, Mr. Andrus, what exactly does HQC do?
HQC is a custom injection molder in the Chicagoland area. We've been in business for 34 years. Our customer base is generally in the Midwest.
So, Mr. Andrus, what do you think about FIRST, and why do you consider sponsoring?
So our industry has a real shortage of people in manufacturing, and the FIRST robotics and the key elements they teach, the teamwork, the knowledge base they provide is something that gives kids hands-on, whether it's going into high school, coming out of high school, going into college. It's tools that you can't get in a textbook, and it's a big help.
So, Mr. Andrus, I have one last question. Would you be happy to show us on a tour?
I would be happy to do that.
We are here at HQC taking a plant tour, and here are some of the molds they have. I'm here in the maintenance shop at HQC, and this is one of the molds they have. When fully put together, this mold can weigh up to 22,000 pounds.
We start our tour of HQC in one of its molding rooms. Here, you will see some collection vials being molded. The press melts plastic at 450 degrees, forcing the plastic into the mold, while the press exerts 550 tons of force using hydraulics. The press then cools the parts to 80 degrees and ejects the parts about every 10 seconds. Here, we see the parts moving untouched down the work cell. This machine descrambles and orients the product. This portion of the machine places the cap on the vial and screws on the cap using friction wheels. This step applies the heat shrink safety seal.
These black caps are for protein supplement containers. We can see the cap liners being punched out. The cap inverter prepares the part for stocking and packaging. Here we see a transversing robot that removes runner/scrap after the molding process is complete. This is an air conveyor. Here we can see the UV additive used for part detection. The last step is using vision for part inspection.
Thanks again to HQC for supporting the mission of First Illinois Robotics and today's broadcast.
Any viewer of previous FIRST broadcasts is aware of the FIRST Scholarship Program, which featured approximately 200 scholarship providers offering $80 million in scholarship funding for FIRST participants. There are scholarship funds available from a wide variety of institutions for all sorts of post-secondary endeavors. The 2021 edition of the FIRST Scholarship Program will be launching later this month, so check it out and don't forget to apply. This season also features the unveiling of the FIRST Mentor Network, sponsored by NI. This platform will allow teams and interested mentors to easily find each other for virtual or eventual face-to-face mentorship. You can find the Mentor Network on the FIRST dashboard under the Volunteer Registration tab.
The last few months have been a time of uncertainty for all members of our FIRST community. Now more than ever, we're incredibly impressed by the creativity and ingenuity of our students. Let's take a look at some of the ways our teams have adapted while operating in a socially distanced manner.
examples of the incredible work happening locally among our first participants. We also invited teams to embrace the Game Changers theme and visualize what game changing looks like in their community. We asked teams to share how they use FIRST core values to promote change in their community through the First Illinois Robotics Summer Media Contest.
Entries were judged in 2 categories, still and motion. Our runner-up still submission was from Lorelei on First Robotics Competition Team 8096, Cash Money from Chicago.
Our winning still entry is from Zoya on FTC Team 18183 from Downers Grove, which is a rookie team joining First Tech Challenge in Illinois this year.
Now let's take a look at our runners-up for the motion category of the contest. First up, from Kyron and Rajiv from FTC Team 18183.
We have all seen these signs at our local businesses during this 2020 pandemic. There is a coin shortage in the US, and it is hurting our local stores. Our team decided to help the hard-hit businesses with the STEM skills we've learned at First. We created the Collaborate for Change app to connect local businesses in need of change with local piggy banks. We are First, technology leaders solving our community problems one app at a time.
The next submission is from Omid from FRC Team 3061, Husky Robotics in Naperville.
Now, the submission from Adil, Mark, Shamita, Ria, Prabab, Reina, Zoya, and Niraj from FTC Team 18183.
Our first team is promoting change in our community with leading by example. We are using science to understand and
respect the virus.
We are social distancing, staying at home, washing hands, wearing masks, following rules, and video conferencing to stay safe and healthy. We are using technology to 3D print PPE. We are all in this together, 6 feet apart. We are game changers.
And our winning motion entry for the 2020 First Illinois Robotics Summer Media Contest is by Rajiv C. from Team 18183.
When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, our team stepped up to address the critical PPE shortages by collaborating and connecting with several First teams across Illinois. We formed a community alliance to donate 3D printed headbands for face shields, masks, and mask straps. With our collaborative efforts, not only did we assist healthcare providers and at-risk individuals across Illinois, and even as far as Texas, we also made lasting connections with several local community groups and First teams.
Thank you to all teams and students that participated in the First Illinois Robotics Summer Media Contest. And congratulations once again to Zoya and Rajiv C. from FTC Team 18183 for creating our winning submissions.
While the challenge that our teams face each season changes, there are still many things that stay the same each season when it comes to Game Manuals Part 1 and 2 and the rules of the First Tech Challenge season. These rules cover best practices, and following them can help a team perform their best throughout the season.
To talk about some of these best practices, tips, and tricks, we have a video from Illinois head referee and First alumna Kat Svoboda. Don't forget that Kat will also be available to take your questions after today's game reveal. So if you haven't already, send those questions in the Twitch chat. We'll be monitoring that live all day. Take it away, Kat.
Hi everyone, my name is Kat Svoboda. I'm the head referee for FTC in the state of Illinois. I've been a volunteer with FIRST for the past 12 years, and I'm a mechanical engineer. After the game reveal, I'll be here live on the Twitch stream to do a Q&A with any questions you guys have about the game this year. So get those questions ready and go ahead and put them in the chat for this stream. But before the game is revealed, I have 5 top tips for a successful season no matter what the game is. Number 1, read the game manuals. That's right, read Game Manual Part 1 and Game Manual Part 2. It may seem obvious, but a lot of people's questions can be answered by looking a little bit deeper in those game manuals. So they will tell you how the game is meant to be played, what you can and cannot do, and what the competitions are going to look like. So they're a really handy resource, and I highly recommend everyone take a solid look at those before going any further and asking questions in the game forum Q&A. Number 2, read the FTC Game Forum Q&A. This is a forum where students and team members post questions, and the game design committee will answer them. It'll be publicly accessible, and this is the only thing that can clarify or maybe re-rule on anything in the game manual. So please post any questions you guys have there, but make sure you read ahead and make sure that they haven't already answered those questions. They will not answer your questions if it's something that they've already answered. So please make sure you guys are keeping up with it, and there might be other teams out there having the same problems you are. Number 3, self-inspect your robot. It's a great opportunity for you guys to become more familiar with the rules. Make sure you have a legal robot for competition. It can also speed things up at a traditional event where inspections normally take a fair bit of time when students haven't double-checked the inspection rules and don't know that maybe something on the robot isn't quite up to standards. So please make sure you take a look at the inspection checklists. They're found in Game Manual Part 1, Appendix B, and Appendix C. Both of these are required for an inspection at a traditional event. You should always be doing a robot self-inspection prior to every competition. I highly recommend it so that you guys know you're competing with a fair and legal robot. Number 4, establish and follow sensible safety rules in your own workspace. So depending on your workspace and what your activities are, this may include wearing sensible shoes, tying up your hair in loose clothing, wearing safety glasses, wearing a face shield or gloves. Any of those might be reasonable. With everything going on this year, it's also important to have policies about wearing face masks, practicing social distancing, maybe a maximum number of students in an area, as well as using hand sanitizer on a regular basis or washing your hands on a regular basis. These are great habits to get into during regular build season so that when you get to competition, your team already knows exactly what to do and is going to follow the rules that we require at competitions. Besides that, it's great to stay safe in your own work environment. Number 5, design a robust robot. Taking into account all sorts of field tolerances and game element tolerances. When programming your autonomous, practice for the what-ifs. So what if something didn't go quite right? Do you guys need to realign? Do you guys need to plan on maybe a game element has moved and is in your way? Think about what you, your alliance partners, or maybe your opponents could do that could throw off your robot. So design a robust robot and plan for the what-ifs. Hopefully these top tips will help set you up for success in this year and other years to come. In about a month, we'll be holding a virtual drivers meeting. This will be an opportunity for students and team members to ask me, the head referee, questions about the game this year, once you guys have had an opportunity to read the rules a little bit further and understand the game a little bit better. Hopefully you guys will also have started building and programming your robots by then, and so this will be a good opportunity to check in on the rules. Plan on having those on a regular basis as long as remote events continue to happen and you guys continue to show interest in them. So again, that'll be an online moderated forum where students will be allowed to participate. There will be more information coming about a date and how to access that through the weekly team blasts. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully it's something you guys enjoy doing and find it useful. If so, we'll keep doing them.
ideas, their predictions, and a little bit of concern for all of our safety. We've seen multiple people mention, why aren't people wearing masks? And we are very thankful that you're thinking about our safety. And we do want to make it clear that everyone participating in today's kickoff is broadcasting from their own home. And if they're not wearing masks, it's because they're working with someone in their own social circle. So we're making sure that we're being safe, and we're making sure that we're keeping each other safe from COVID-19. So thank you very much for your concern. We are now just about 5 minutes away from switching over to our national broadcast, and we want to start sharing some of the predictions and a few other pieces of information that we've been hearing today. The most common prediction in the chat so far has been that this year's game will involve some kind of shooting or launching element, kind of firing a projectile into a goal. We'll have to wait to see if that's true.
And another thing we wanted to talk about is that GoBuilda, a robotics parts supplier, has graciously offered to sponsor some door prizes for our Illinois kickoff event. Those prizes include a chassis kit, some store credits, and some GoBuilda merchandise. If you are a member of an Illinois First Tech Challenge team, you can enter to win these prizes at the link that is going to be in the Twitch chat, and I'm going to throw it up on the screen from my iPad in just a moment. If you do enter your contact information on that link, our program delivery team here in Illinois will use that information to select and choose a winner of that merchandise. So to get to the form to fill out your information, you are going to enter to win at bit.ly/ILGoBuilda. IL is in caps, and so is Builda, just like their brand name. That is case sensitive, and our mod team is putting that information in the chat for you as well, so that you don't have to copy it directly off my screen the entire time.
Thank you so much to GoBuilda for making this giveaway possible. It's really exciting to be able to give away some awesome robotics material to the people who've been engaging with us all day on chat. So again, make sure to check out that link in the chat. It is bit.ly/ILGoBuilda. Go throw yourself in the drawing, hopefully get some cool stuff out of it.
All right, now we are still getting prepped for those final moments before we transition over to the national headquarters stream to check out some first staff presenting the Ultimate Goal Challenge. Before we do that, we just wanted to ask a few questions of our chat and of each other here. Just wondering some favorite first memories. One question I have for you, Ryan, is what is your favorite piece of first memorabilia that you have obtained through your years of volunteering?
Oh, that is tough. So like many of you, I was on a team. So I am a first alumnus. So I've been doing this for a while, but I think my favorite piece of memorabilia has to be this water bottle I got 2 years ago during the first launch season. It's just a standard metal water bottle, but I was actually able to get the volunteer logo laser engraved into it, the Fuel the Mission patch. And that's always been something I thought was pretty cool. I don't know about a lot of you, but the branding around the first launch season was just so exciting, being like a space nerd. It was pretty cool. How about you, Corey?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think mine is also related to the first launch season. I brought it out here with me this morning. This is the hair bow that I wore throughout the entire first launch season. A great friend of mine who is an MC in the PNW, she got this put together for me and sent it all the way to Chicago, which I really appreciated. Has my name on it, has the first logo, and then at the first World Championship that season, I did get a chance to talk to Woody Flowers, and he signed this for me. So I've always held on to this bow since then. Let us know what your favorite memorabilia is. We'd love to take a look at your comments while we are watching that HQ broadcast in just a few minutes. We'd also like to know what is your favorite First Tech Challenge game that you have ever participated in? We love hearing from teams about what their favorite games were, especially if we have alumni or mentors in the chat. We'd love to see what you guys like, what your favorite memories are. I think my favorite is probably Rover Ruckus from a few years ago. It was a very fun game. I liked the variety of game pieces, the multiple challenges, different ways to score, and of course the latch at the end of the match was super exciting. Ryan, do you have anything else to add, either from our chat or your own thoughts?
Looking at the chat right now, Alex from 14615 is saying that Skystone was their favorite game. Looks like we're also seeing Smallest Comet 12, also Skystone, a very popular game last season. A lot of drama building that tower and hoping that it didn't fall once it started getting very tall. We want to give a shout out to Team 18183 on Twitter. We saw that they were participants in our summer media contest, and this is their first kickoff. A little bit different than a normal kickoff, but hopefully it leads to a great season nonetheless. We're hearing in the chat now somebody saying Velocity Vortex is their favorite game. That's my favorite game too. I think firing projectiles into those vortexes was always very exciting. We also have someone mentioning defense during Rover Ruckus.
Absolutely.
So thanks for sharing those favorite game ideas in the chat. It's really great to hear from all of you. And make sure to keep sharing in the chat as well. We're going to say it one last time. After the live broadcast, we are going to be coming back to our Illinois kickoff so that you can ask questions of Jonathan Wieland and Kat Svoboda. Kat has had access to the game manual and has been studying it diligently to be able to answer all of your questions. And Jonathan has a field setup that he'll be able to show you live. So make sure to stick around for that and have those questions ready. Put them in the chat, put them on Twitter. We'll be moderating that discussion.
Yeah, I am super excited to see that field set up in Jonathan's garage. I know he's got it set up. He's ready to go, ready to unveil it. And Kat, she hasn't been able to tell me anything, but I think she's very excited to share her thoughts and kind of what she's learned so far from Game Manual Part 2, which we'll all get a chance to look at in just a few moments. I'm hearing we're just about ready to switch over to the HQ broadcast. We've got maybe about 45 seconds until we do that. One last thought before we leave you here and send it on over to HQ. Thank you again so much for joining us. We have compiled a list of about 15 teams who have joined us so far. But if you haven't given your own team a shout out, please let us know who you are, where you are watching from for today's broadcast. We would love to get in touch and keep track of our teams throughout this season. Because while we might not be able to see each other in person for a while, we can definitely still keep in touch and get to know what our teams are doing. It is 11 a.m., so we're just going to hang out right here, and our phenomenal stream staff are going to be working on switching us over to the HQ broadcast momentarily.
See you on the other side. Let's check out Ultimate Goal.
Hello, First Tech Challenge teams, and an official welcome to the 2020-2021 season. I'm DJ Knight, and I'm so excited to be back for this year's First Tech Challenge kickoff and the big reveal of Ultimate Goal presented by Qualcomm. We're thrilled to have Qualcomm back as a presenting sponsor this season, and of course, Ultimate Goal is a part of the first Game Changers powered by Star Wars Force for Change season. I'd also like to welcome my co-host for today's broadcast, Sarah Falwell, a First Tech Challenge alum, Dean's List winner, a first volunteer, and also on the digital engagement team at First Strategic Partner Rockwell Automation. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, DJ. I'm thrilled to be here and see what First Tech Challenge has in store for Ultimate Goal. We have an excellent show planned for you guys today. We'll have an important announcement from First Tech Challenge Director Ken Johnson, where he'll share details and updates about this season's events, as well as we have shoutouts from a few of your first faves, and of course, the Ultimate Goal game reveal. We'll also have a game field walkthrough, live Q&A, and announce the kickoff sweepstakes winners. And at the end of the show, be sure to check out all of the game materials on our website. If you're tuning in and not registered yet, don't worry, there's still plenty of time to join the fun, and we'll have a $500 rookie grants available. And, new to this year, for all registered teams, we've created the first mentor network, so your team can easily find additional and professional mentorship this season on anything from fundraising to finance to team branding and even robot building. During the season, while most of us are social distancing, it's the first mentor network that is a great way to stay engaged and grow your team's expertise on different subjects. Check it out. DJ, what do we have coming up?
Thanks, Sarah. I'm so pumped. I know I've been waiting all summer for this reveal, and while the season is sure to look a bit different, I'm confident everyone's going to have fun and accomplish more than ever, as the First Tech Challenge is including a variety of new activities for teams to explore both virtually and in person. So be on the lookout for those updates. But before we get to exploring all the exhilarating and high-flying tasks teams will be working on this season, Let's take a look at Ultimate Goal to see how you will be redefining the game and become force for change this season. Okay. Now that the Ultimate Goal game reveal is just minutes away, anything popping out from the teaser? Any clues you didn't see before? Sarah, what do you think?
I definitely have some ideas. I don't want to give anything away yet, but I do want to see what our teams think. First Tech Challenge teams around the world have been sharing their predictions with us, and we're excited to take a look, see if anyone's close.
Those were some awesome and very creative guesses. I don't know what cat foosball is or if it's a part of this year's game, but I kind of want to see it.
Yeah, some of those guesses were pretty close, and we can't wait to see what you do this season, teams. Even during the off-season this year, you're already showing us and the world that you're truly game changers. As the world reacted to unprecedented changes, First Tech Challenge teams took action, and you haven't stopped yet. We're amazed at how teams around the world have collaborated and been forces for change in their own communities. We may not have been able to meet in person, but our community is stronger than ever. Let's take a look.
Wow, what an impressive display from our incredible community. You've been working hard and using your collective skills to be a force for change. It's because of you, the next generation of innovators and leaders, that our sponsors, Qualcomm, Collins Aerospace, and PTC's Onshape, invest in the First Tech Challenge. A huge thank you to our first Game Changer season sponsor, Disney and Lucasfilm, and all of our friends in the Star Wars galaxy. And a huge round of applause for returning First Tech Challenge season sponsor Qualcomm and our official program sponsor, Collins Aerospace, We want to wish you good luck this season.
Hi everyone, Susie Armstrong here. I'm a Senior Vice President of Engineering at Qualcomm and a proud member of the FIRST Executive Advisory Board. Qualcomm is thrilled to be returning as the season presenting sponsor of the FIRST Tech Challenge Ultimate Goal Game for the 6th year in a row. Staying connected is now more important than ever, and cellular connectivity and 5G strengthens these connections. Qualcomm's wireless leadership continues to support virtual ways of learning for all of us, even in remote and underserved areas. So, this year's first season may look different for everyone, being online, but we hope that you are staying safe and finding new ways to innovate. Best of luck to all of the teams, and I'm really excited to see this season's competitions.
Hey everybody, I'm Erin Mitchell, a proud first alum of FTC 4140 Fish in the Boat and current manufacturing engineer in new product introduction at Collins Aerospace. Collins is so proud to be this year's official program sponsor. At Collins, we tackle the toughest challenges every day. Our big goals make cool stuff happen, so you and your teams should set some big ones this season too. When I was a first student, my team and I challenged ourselves to be better every single year through the robots we built, the outreach we performed, and the friendships and relationships we created. At work, we keep people safe, connected, and informed. Collins is redefining aerospace. How will you redefine this game? I, for one, look forward to finding out. Welcome to the season, teams, and good luck.
Thank you, Susie and Erin. Without the support of our sponsors, volunteers, program delivery partners, and all of you at home, First Tech Challenge wouldn't be possible. And while this season may look a little different for all of us, gracious professionalism remains at the heart of it all. Here's our 2019-2020 Dean's List Award winners to remind us all about the importance of gracious professionalism this season.
Gracious professionalism is acting with integrity and respect on and off the playing field, enabling you to compete against other teams but also cooperate with them at the same time.
Gracious professionalism means having a sense of dignity and respect towards yourself and others. Beyond all the odds, we are there for each other no matter what.
I define gracious professionalism to be a measure of great responsibility and kindness.
Gracious professionalism is what makes FIRST so unique. It's respect, courtesy, and good sportsmanship all wrapped up in one. We encourage everybody to try their best while also helping each other out. Because above all, we are a community first.
Personally, gracious professionalism means that if I want true success, I need to strive for respect and valuing other people's ideas.
It means using technology to make the world a better place, and being nice to everyone around us, and truly creating a wonderful community that's welcoming and inclusive and that everyone wants to be a part of.
Gracious professionalism is having compassion on other teams and helping them, not just during the competition, but year-round.
Gracious professionalism is about encouragement and giving inspiration while showing modest work and different obstacles. So strive to show your submissive work while giving encouragement and inspiration to others.
An example of this would be exchanging information with other teams to build each other up and help each other grow to be better.
Teams can be gracious professionals this season by volunteering either virtually or in person and really helping our communities during this time. You can use your skills of technology, FIRST, and robotics to really make a difference on this world.
This year, let's create virtual meetups where we share advice and help each other debug problems. And most of all, break down barriers on all fronts. We should use this opportunity to forge new connections and friendships. Let's innovate together virtually.
You can collaborate with other First Tech Challenge teams by sharing your knowledge and experience and helping each other reach your goals.
Good luck, game changers.
Good luck, teams. We can't wait to see how you redefine the game.
Good luck, First Tech Challenge teams, as you get ready for Ultimate Goal.
Good luck, teams. We can't wait to see you score your ultimate goal.
Good luck First Tech Challenge teams as you get ready for the ultimate goal.
Good luck from North Carolina as you prepare for ultimate goal.
Good luck, First Tech Challenge teams.
To all fellow First Tech companions, I wish you all good luck in this new season, and remember to show gracious professionalism.
I love how the First community celebrates gracious professionalism and makes it a priority in your seasons and a part of your everyday lives. Just like gracious professionalism, in Ultimate Goal, you will set out to make yourselves a collaborative teammate, a respected competitor, and a stronger person.
That's absolutely right, DJ. And we are just minutes away from finding out what it all means. But first, we have an important season update from Program Director Ken Johnson with details about this season's event options and new changes to your robot builds. Let's welcome Ken.
Hey, First Tech Challenge. What a year it's been since last year's live game reveal. Last September, we unveiled Skystone at the Qualcomm World Headquarters in San Diego, California. And this year, we're thrilled to have Qualcomm back as the sponsor of Ultimate Goal. Thanks, Qualcomm. Why do so many First Tech Challenge sponsors stay with us year after year? They see the fun, excitement, and impact this program has on, well, you. And they want more and more folks like you participating so we can continue to change the future together. This year has been different for sure. The situation we're all in has forced changes in just about everything we do. But it's also highlighted how amazing our community is and how well you have adapted. When all this started, First teams didn't sit back. Many jumped into action to help any way they could. I am incredibly proud to see what the First community has done to help your families and neighbors, those in need. It underscores what all of us in First are trying to do. Thank you. So where are we today? Our team continues to leverage the innovative spirit of First. In the spring, we realized social distancing rules might continue into the fall as we launch the Ultimate Goal season. Our amazing game design team adapted how Ultimate Goal is played to allow it to be played in traditional events, the in-person events you're all familiar with, as well as a new option we call remote events. Your regional program delivery partner, the great folks who make First Tech Challenge available to you locally, may choose to offer remote events if social distancing guidelines and safety concerns don't allow traditional events. Remote events will mirror traditional events as much as possible in both judging and robot match play this season. Each remote event will be scheduled over a window of time, up to a full week, decided upon by your program delivery partner. Judging for remote events will follow the same format as traditional events. The awards teams compete for will be exactly the same. Remote event teams will provide materials to judges electronically to show all the great stuff they've done. Instead of in-person interviews, teams and judges will use video meetings for interviews and deliberations. I know by now you're all looking forward to more video meetings, but I promise these will be fun. Ultimate Goal is the same game for both remote and traditional events, but you'll notice some changes to how team rankings are determined this season in both of these event formats. Team ranking will no longer be based on your team's win-loss record, but instead on the total points your team scores in your official matches. In traditional events, team rankings will be based on total points scored by your alliance in your official matches. In remote events, team rankings will be based on total points scored by your team in your official matches. Tiebreakers and penalties will be the same in both remote event and traditional event formats too, but I'll let you dig into the game manuals to get into those details. If your region chooses a remote event format, your team will be invited to those remote events by your program delivery partner or event host. As I referenced earlier, remote events will be played over a window of time of up to a full week. This allows flexibility to schedule judging sessions. It will also allow teams more time to play, score, and upload their 6 official matches for each remote event in which they compete. Remote event teams will play official matches in their robotics lab. That can be in your basement, garage, or wherever it's set up. Remote event matches will be played on a half field using the half field game sets offered by Andy Mark. Or you can build a half field yourself with instructions we'll provide. But you'll still need to obtain these official scoring pieces from Andy Mark. Sorry, almost showed you that, and we're just about to show off the game. But you'll need those official scoring pieces. We think the remote event option is one that many regions will take advantage of. And regardless of which option your region offers, both provide the same merit-based advancement using the same judged award and robot competition criteria. In fact, the way we develop remote event format allows regions to transition from remote events to traditional events within the Ultimate Goal season if local conditions improve and social distancing rules are relaxed. Anything else new in First Tech Challenge this year? Actually, yes. Over the last 2 seasons, we piloted the Rev Robotics Control Hub with great results. As you might already know, the Control Hub combines the functionality of the Expansion Hub and the on-robot Android handset, or brain, into a single device. This makes wiring just a bit easier and the physical layout of your robot a bit more flexible. The Control Hub does not include a built-in camera like Android handsets all have, but Control Hubs were designed to accept USB-connected cameras. Not only that, we're introducing USB cameras into the robotics kits this year. We want you to continue using the amazing Vuforia and TensorFlow sensing and logic in your robot designs. Teams can definitely continue to use the Rev Expansion Hub and on-robot Android handset configuration, and we know most of you will. That setup will continue to serve you well in your design, development, and competition. We've also modified judging a bit. Same awards and processes for judging, but this year teams can request judging feedback. First judging and the awards recognizing team accomplishments are great, and if you win an award, well, that's some pretty good feedback you did well. But of course, not every team wins. We want to give teams the opportunity to get feedback if they ask. That feedback from judges won't be a grade or score, but some idea on how the judges saw your presentation and your work. Remember, many teams may be submitting A-level work to judges, but the hardest part in First Tech Challenge judging is which A-level work was the best in that event. Keep an eye out for invitations to monthly calls where our team here at First Tech Challenge will talk about and answer your questions on scoring and the FTC Live scoring tool teams will use for practice and official matches, how remote judging works, and help you with any technical questions you might have. I can't wait for you to see Ultimate Goal, but I want to leave you with, after hearing what I've shared, is a clear understanding that your team has options in how to compete in the really cool game we're just about to show you. And regardless of where you are, anywhere around the globe, you can do this. Together, we will do this. Thanks, and have a great season.
Hey Dave, it's time to play!
Do you think it's gonna be a water game this year?
Remember teams, no matter how you play the game this year,
you folks be game changers.
Welcome to Ultimate Goal!
Challenges make bigger future. Are you ready for Ultimate Goal? Good luck, First Tech Challenge teams.
Greetings from Mississippi. This is Manny Lowe, Program Delivery Partner and member of the Game Design Committee. My ultimate goal is for you all to enjoy the game and have a great season this year. Stay safe and stay first.
Good luck teams as you prepare for Ultimate Goal.
Hello First Tech Challenge India teams. We can't wait to see how you redefine the game. Good luck for this season. On your mark, get ready, get set, go.
We are Taiwan Design Robot Association.
我期待大家在 First Tech Challenge 的表现。
比赛加油
Fighting!
Good luck teams. We can't wait to see how you redefine the game.
Hello from Northern California. Mark Edelman, member of the Game Design Committee and your chief referee. Wishing you all the best of luck with the Ultimate Goal season. Hope you have as much fun playing it as we had designing it. Good luck, everyone.
Guess what time it is? It's time to be game changers. Good luck, First Tech Challenge teams.
Hey, Thailand here. We're vouching for everyone to reach the ultimate goal in this year's First Tech Challenge competition.
Good luck, First Tech Challenge teams, from beautiful, sunny San Diego.
I hope you're all as excited as I am for Ultimate Goal, presented by Qualcomm, as part of our first Game Changers season, powered by Star Wars Force for Change. Good luck to all the First Tech Challenge teams, and most important, have fun.
Greetings to the whole First Tech Challenge community. Welcome to the 2021 season, presented by Qualcomm. First Game Changers is powered by Star Wars Force for Change. I think you've all, I hope, been excited to get going. I know this season is going to be a little different than seasons in the past, but it's going to be a great season, and all I want to do is two things. Thank Qualcomm for their ongoing and incredible support, and reminding you the Force should be with you. I'll look to see you at an event this season. Good luck.
Thanks, Ken, for all that great information. Truly enlightening. And thank you all for all the good luck messages. I'm looking forward to seeing how the remote events play out this season.
Me too. I know we have some new changes in gameplay and event structure this year, but I know our community will find creative solutions to make this season as awesome as possible. And now, the moment that you've all been waiting for, the big reveal of the 2020-2021 First Tech Challenge game Ultimate Goal, presented by Qualcomm, is next. After the reveal, make sure to stick around for field highlights, a live Q&A, and the winners of the Kickoff sweepstakes.
I'm excited. You're excited. Let's see the Ultimate Goal game animation.
For centuries, sports have played an integral part of our culture. Moving, collaborating, competing, celebrating. We rally around our athletes, lift them up, and admire their awe-inspiring moments and stories that give us hope. History has shown societies evolving through time, and so too have sports and the way we play and move together. And now the nature of traditional sports is shifting, and we have the power to be forces for change and redefine the game. Our sports are no longer rooted solely in physical prowess. We must use our minds, our creativity, imagination, and critical thinking as much as we use our muscles. No matter whether our talents lie on the court, in the lab, or with a controller in hand, there's an athlete inside each and every one of us. It's time for us to revolutionize the way we play and move. It's time to be game changers. In Ultimate Goal, presented by Qualcomm, you and your team will experience the passion that drives us forward as athletes. With the clock counting down, we revel in the big plays and vital scores, and the lessons we learn when we fail and work with our teammates to recover. Each time our team steps up to a new challenge, we establish bolder goals, fueling our ambitions to work together, enhance our skills, and transcend all boundaries. No matter the outcome, we'll stand up in the face of competition, pushing each other to do better, work harder, and exceed our team and personal potentials. Because together, you are teammates at the top of your game, to score, to win, and to leave a legacy that lasts. It's time to play Ultimate Goal. Welcome to the First Tech Challenge 2020-2021 season game, Ultimate Goal, presented by Qualcomm. Part of the first Game Changers season, powered by Star Wars Force for Change. A team consists of up to 2 driver operators, a coach, a human player, and a robot. The robot must be built from materials specified in the game manual and fit within an 18-inch sizing tool, but may expand after the match begins. Each match is played with 4 randomly selected teams, 2 per alliance. Each alliance is allowed only 1 human player. Your opponents for one match may be your partners for another. The game is played on a 12-foot square playing field with a foam tile floor and 1-foot-high walls. 5 unique navigation images are located around the field perimeter. At one end are 2 tower goals, each containing 3 alliance-specific goals with return racks. Between the 2 tower goals are 3 red and 3 blue power shot targets. There are 2 red and 2 blue taped start lines, and 3 red and 3 blue target zone goals. and a white launch line divides the field. Outside of the field walls are the 2 Alliance stations and 2 human player stations. The primary game element is a ring, approximately 5 inches in diameter and 3/4 of an inch thick. A match is played with 20 rings. There are 2 red and 2 blue wobble goals. These can have rings scored onto them and can be moved for additional scoring. Before each match, teams place their robots on the field, touching the front wall and over one of their alliance's starting lines. Each robot must be touching or be in possession of a wobble goal. A robot may possess or touch up to 3 rings. After the robots are in position, field personnel will randomize the starter stacks into one of 3 configurations. This determines which target zone goal is active in the autonomous period. 0, 1, or 4 rings correspond to target zone goals A, B, or C, respectively. Unused rings are stored in the human player stations to be deployed to the field at the start of the driver-controlled period. The players and field are ready. Each match begins with a 30-second autonomous period. During this period, there are a number of ways for teams to score using only pre-programmed instructions and sensor inputs. Delivering a wobble goal to the correct target zone earns the Alliance 15 points. A robot parked over the launch line earns 5 points. Each ring launched or placed into the low goal earns 3 points. A ring launched into the mid goal earns 6 points, and launching into the high goal earns 12 points. Robots earn 15 points for each power shot target knocked down. Robots must be completely within the launch zone to launch rings into the mid goal, high goal, or power shot targets. Following the autonomous period is the 2-minute driver-controlled period. During the driver-controlled period, human players are expected to return rings to the playing field, as well as reset power shot targets. Each ring launched or placed into the low goal earns 2 points. A ring launched into the mid goal earns 4 points. However, rings launched into the opposing alliance's goal earn points for their alliance. A ring launched into the high goal earns 6 points. The last 30 seconds of the driver-controlled period is the endgame. During this time, robots may continue scoring rings, but there are also ways to earn bonus points. Each knocked down power shot target earns 15 points. Returning a wobble goal to the start line earns 5 points. Each ring fully supported by the wobble goal earns 5 points. If a robot lifts a wobble goal over the front wall into the drop zone, its alliance earns 20 points. There are many ways to score in Ultimate Goal, but there are also rules that, if not followed, will deduct points from your alliance. For example, a robot may not block another for an extended period. A robot may not possess more than 3 rings at a time. A robot may not launch rings over the side or front perimeter walls. A robot may not intentionally tip another robot at any time. This has been a brief summary of the Ultimate Goal game. For complete rules, please read the entire game manual and check the Q&A forum. For more information on our remote season, including gameplay and field requirements, please make sure to visit our game and season webpage for the full library of remote event documentation. And always remember the most important rule of First Tech Challenge: gracious professionalism. Good luck, teams, and have a great season.
That in quite some time in First Tech Challenge. It certainly seems like the predictors were correct. This is a shooting game, and boy, is there a lot of it. High goals, those pegs, and I definitely love how open the field is going to be to really allow robots to have the maneuverability to make those shots. How exciting.
Absolutely. There's a lot of elements of Ultimate Goal that remind me of some previous seasons as well. We see lots of our favorite elements from previous games kind of making a return here in the Ultimate Goal season. We've really been looking forward to seeing your reactions in the Twitch chat. Now, just as a quick recap, we shortly will be passing over our feed to Jonathan Whelan, one of our program delivery partners here in the state of Illinois, and Kat Svoboda, our Illinois FTC head referee. Now, Jonathan will have a field in full setup. So if there's part of the field that you would like to see closer, or if you would like to ask questions about any part of that field that you have seen, go ahead and send us those questions. Ryan and I will be sending them off to Jonathan. And if you have any questions about game rules, anything you might find in Game Manual Part 2, send those in as well in that Twitch chat, and we will get them served up to Kat.
Now, speaking of questions, we saw that there were a couple questions not quite related to the new game before the live reveal began. We want to address those questions real quick to give you an opportunity to put your new questions in the chat. We saw a couple people asking about our Go Build a giveaway. They were wondering if those prizes could be won by an individual or by a team. So we want to make sure to let you all know those prizes would be awarded to a team, not an individual. So answering that question there. There was also a question about whether or not this broadcast would be made on demand after the broadcast is over. And yes, we will be working on that so that throughout the season you can come on back and check out some of the resources that we have had today. I still just can't get over this game.
It is very interesting. It's one of those FTC games where just watching the animation once definitely did not give me enough time to process all of that information. Here at our broadcast headquarters, we are getting prepared to switch our feed over to Jonathan and Kat. We're just kind of waiting for them to get connected, and we'll pass it on over to them. Ryan, I think you'll take care of doing that pass over for us.
Yeah, I'm just going to give them a little bit more time here. Wobble goals. Wobble goals. I can't believe that. I mean, it's one thing for them not to be stationary, but the whole idea that you can start having them on your robot at the beginning of the match, I don't really think that is something we've seen like this this season. Yes, you could move the foundations during our last game, but to be able to move the whole scoring element. But I am now being told that Jonathan and Kat are ready for our questions. So we're going to kind of bring a screen up here, and we're going to bring in Jonathan and Kat. So we'll see you on the other side. Keep posting those questions to our Twitch chat and Twitter. In the chat.
All right, we put Kat up or wait.
Okay, we have Kat here.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and start by asking her a question. Now, a special treat for all of you, Kat has actually had early access to the game manual to be able to answer your question. So one of the first questions we're seeing today, we're going to address this to Kat. Hey Kat, what if you block an opponent's shot by driving in front of them as they shoot?
In the game manual part 2, you will find a rule that says you are not allowed to block shots if they are over 18 inches in the air, or off the ground. So you cannot block higher shots. Of course, double check the game manual, make sure you read that rule thoroughly, but it will be in game manual part 2.
Okay. Another question for you. At the end of the game animation, that points can be earned by placing a wobble goal outside of the field. We have a team wondering, can you still put rings on wobble goals outside of the field?
There is no rule against putting rings on once the wobble goal is outside. So again, double check the game manual, make sure you're following all the rules there, and make sure you're not putting rings on the wobble goals early would be my warning.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kat. On the top of wobble goals, are there any rules about those over-the-side wobble goals that maybe are addressed?
Rules on over-the-side wobble goals. So, in the game manual, you'll find information in the in-game section, in particular about the wobble goals. They still count if they are tipped over for some reason. You are not allowed to launch the wobble goals. They must only come out of the front, either the front wall or the front barrier of the field. You cannot take them out the side. You cannot take them out the back. So hopefully that clarifies some stuff. If you have more specific questions, feel free to drop those in the chat.
And absolutely, it looks like there's a lot of questions related to these wobble goals. Here's another one for you, Kat. Can you put rings on the wobble goal while your robot is carrying the wobble goal?
Yes, as long as you're in-game and as long as you don't exceed the possession limits of both the rings and the wobble goals. So pay attention to the possession limits, pay attention to what timing you have around that. It's important that you don't violate those rules. You could get some penalties.
And speaking of possession limits, since you did mention that, we have a member here asking, how many rings can you carry at a time during the driven stage?
So, as they mentioned during the preload section for autonomous, you're allowed to preload a maximum of 3 rings. 3 rings will be your maximum throughout the entire match. That's the maximum number of rings you can carry. That does include, as we've seen in the past, if a ring gets stuck on your robot. So if you have an inadvertent ring that you are possessing, that will count towards your total. So make sure you're not carrying more than 3, or possessing or controlling more than 3. Again, Game Manual Part 2 has great definitions for control, possession, all of those great things. So make sure you're double checking the definitions as well as the rules themselves.
Thanks again, Kat. We are getting a lot of great questions in our chat here, so we're going to keep peppering you with more of those as we wait for Jonathan's feed to come in. A question asked a little bit earlier, can you park your robot under the ring delivery from the human player to directly load the ring onto your robot?
Sure, you cannot. If you double check the human player ring handling rules, it specifies that the rings must touch the ground before the robot picks them up. So please make sure they are hitting the ground before your robot is picking them up. Your robot cannot catch them from the human player.
Great, thank you for that answer. More questions on the wobble goal. If you are holding a wobble goal with rings on it, do those rings on the wobble goal count towards your possession limit?
If you possess the wobble goal and the wobble goal has rings, you possess those rings. So yes, they do count towards your total. If you're controlling the wobble goal, then you're controlling those rings as well, if the rings are on there. Hopefully that makes sense.
And can a robot control more than one wobble goal at a time?
No, if you look at the possession limit rules and the game-specific rules, It does also limit the number of wobble goals you can possess and control at once, and it is maximum of 1.
All right. Let's see. Tons of questions coming in. Thank you, teams, for sending these great questions about this year's game. One question, how do we tell what zone is activated during the autonomous period?
So you're going to identify, if you watch the game animation again, identify the zone that'll be activated by the quantity of rings in that pre-stacked tower. So if you look, there's a little mark in the middle of the field, and there will be either 0, 1, or 4 rings on that stack, and those correspond with A, B, and C target zones. 0 being A, 1 being B, and 4 being C. So that's what your robot needs to be checking for in order to hit the right target zone.
Great, thank you. Question here, can you push a robot while they are launching?
In traditional events where we will have multiple robots on the field at once, so this does not apply for remote events where your robot will be playing by itself. You may not interfere with launching. I think it's pretty explicitly stated as that. You are not also allowed to interfere with the wobble goals either, as a heads up.
All right, it's sounding like Jonathan with the field is now ready for questions. So let's pop a few questions over to Jonathan. Give Kat a bit of a break here. Don't worry, she's not going anywhere. We'll have some questions for her in just a moment.
All right, thanks, Ryan and Kat. Now for Jonathan, a few of our team members would like to get a closer look at those rings, wondering, first of all, what they're made of and what their mass is, if we could get that information. I know you might not have it off the top of your head, but maybe we can just get a closer look at them to kind of see how easily they move around and the material they're made of.
So they're foam. They're pretty squishy. I don't have the weight, but they're not so easy to throw. What other questions did you have?
That was awesome, Jonathan. Thank you so much. I did not expect them to be foam, and I feel like a lot of our viewers might not have been. So that was a super helpful visual. Teams are also wondering about the wobble goals as well. Again, I'm sure you don't have those masses written down off the top of your head, but if you could describe kind of their maneuverability, their weight, and kind of how they look a little bit up close.
So they weigh less than this amount of tape. So this is white.
Wireless.
And
it is not connected. What? Yeah, okay, so this is currently not connected.
You want more of a close-up?
Sure, if you're able to do that.
That is not connected. Yes, it is now connected.
Nice, looking good. Thank you, Jonathan. We do have teams wondering how tall that goal assembly is. Again, we probably don't have exact numbers, but if we kind of see you standing next to it, that might be a little bit helpful.
Ruler coming.
It's 10.0.0.0.64.
Can you see this? 12 inches.
All right, great. That's super helpful for those wobble goals. What about at the end of the field? Can you get an idea of how large that assembly is?
Can you pull the wire? The towers, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Debbie, can you hold this? Or Brad? So 24 inches wide,
12 inches for the first one, 20 inches to here, 33 to here, 38 to here. So the first opening is at 12, 20.5, 33.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Ryan, I'm not sure if we have any questions rolling in for Kat. Maybe we could give Jonathan a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I do have some questions here. So a question for Kat. A team is wondering, how is the human player returning rings enforced? So what is stopping a human player from starving the other team of rings by hoarding them behind the goal?
Penalties! So, in the human player section of the game-specific rules, there are rules against hoarding of rings, and the penalties are enforced per ring, per time.
Give it some more command. Okay, yeah.
The penalties, a team is just wondering, in general, how are penalties being handled this season?
It's a great question. This year, instead of your penalties adding points to your opponent's score, in both the remote and traditional event, the penalties will be deducted from your own team or alliance's score. So if you have a score of 50 and your opponent has a score of 40, but you get penalties, you'll see your score go down instead of your opponent's score going up. The minor penalties are 10 points. The major penalties are 30 points. You'll also notice that there are no yellow and red cards for remote events, only for traditional events. But those do not impact the scores.
All right, thank you. Another question here. How much of a wobble goal needs to be in the correct target zone to score points?
Okay, I'm going to make a distinction here, and you should double check the definitions in Game Manual Part 2. But the wobble goal does not need to be in, as we've seen in past parking or goal moving activities. It needs to be supported by. It needs to be at least partially supported by the drop zone, and that does mean in and also supported by, so not just over the line. It needs to be in contact with and have a normal force from the ground or the plane surface there.
It looks like we have 2 follow-up questions regarding penalties. Then maybe we can hop back to the field and Jonathan. So one of those follow-up questions, can a team's score go negative due to penalties?
Typically, that does not happen. I believe that your minimum score will be 0 this year. I have not tried to break the scoring software yet, though. So there's probably more to come on that, but I don't think scores will go below 0.
All right. And then a second follow-up question about penalties. When it comes to penalties for launching a game piece out of the field perimeter, what's the distinction between a failed launch attempt versus like an out-of-field piece?
So there's a couple things there. There's robot rules preventing launching height over 5 feet this year. It has been 6 in the past. So if your robot is believed to be out of spec by launching too high in general, there might be a reinspection required at a traditional event. There's also some rules around the rings should only be exiting that back wall. If they're going off the sides, which is where your drive teams are standing, those would be covered under one of the rules. And then we also have some safety penalties if your robot is hitting any field staff or drive team members. There's probably going to be some safety penalties as well that need to be assessed.
All right. So before we transition to Jonathan, we do have a question that came up before the broadcast, and we're not sure who the best person to answer this question might be. So we'll pose it to both of you. So the question is, pull it up right here. how will teams talk to other teams and their alliances at virtual meets? And how will scouting take place at virtual meets?
Sure. Just to be clear, I know that the game animation showed a full field and 4 teams competing. During your remote event, it will be 1 team competing. You will be assisted by volunteers associated with your team on starting that match, scoring that match, all of those kind of items, and you'll just be playing by yourself. During a meet, you'll have up to a week to run all of your matches. There will be 6 matches total, and you will have that amount of time to in order to score your matches. That means that there's not one time and place that all the teams in that meet are congregating. So this is where we highly, highly recommend that all teams, you guys are posting pictures, progress videos, practice, anything like that to show off your robot so that other teams can scout it. So you can do that on social media, you can do that on your Facebook page, any of the available websites or platforms for sharing your information, just so that other teams know you guys are out there and what your robot can do. So you won't need to talk to other teams during the meet, but we definitely want to encourage it to have running discussions about different topics, struggles, successes, those kind of things. But as of right now, there's not an official place for that. That's just finding your platform either in the Game Community Forum, Discord, Reddit, wherever you guys want to be talking and showing off your robots.
Great. Thank you very much, Kat. I know that's a question that came up multiple times in the chat, and it's really good to know that while we can choose to communicate with teams, communicating with other teams will not be needed or necessary during virtual meets.
All right, now if we can pop back over to Jonathan's display of the field, we do have just a few more questions about the field. First, we have some team members wondering if you can possibly move your camera around and look at the field from the perspective of participants during a match. So if we could kind of see from where a drive team would stand and then where a human player would be standing on this field.
So this is from the drive box. And this is the human player.
Very nice, Jonathan. Can we get a little bit of a closer look from that human player perspective at the back of that tower goal, just so we can get a closer look? The lighting isn't optimal.
So there's a tray here and a tray here. And that's where, and then there's the return bucket, return device.
Very nice. Thanks, Jonathan. I know you showed this a little bit earlier, just very briefly. We were wondering if you could grab one of those rings again and show us, again, kind of the flexibility and maneuverability of those rings up close.
Sure.
All right, thanks a bunch for that demonstration, Jonathan. I'm sure everyone appreciates before we're able to get our hands on those what they look like. I'm going to pass it back to Ryan for a few more questions.
So while you were taking a look at throwing those rings toward those goals, one question we have. So if a team only has a half field, because they're doing a remote meet, if you only have half a field, are you unable to score in the middle goal?
No. So I have a half field set up. You want to show the half field? So in a half field game, you get all three goals.
And if it looks like, if we could pan up a little bit, it does look like that middle goal is a part of the half field.
Yeah, so the towers are the same, but you get to score in all three locations.
All right, thank you for that clarification. It is really helpful to see what this half field looks like, since we already know that all teams in Illinois will be participating remotely in remote meets both in November and December. So it's good to see that.
Remember, the half field is actually 2/3 of the field. It's 4 tiles wide.
Excellent. Another great thing to know. 4
So it's not technically a half field.
Standard, 3 for a half. So while we have that up there, let's ask a couple more questions for Kat here. We've got a lot of them coming in, so let me make sure to ask something that we have not had the chance to yet. One question for you, Kat. Can you hit multiple power shot goals with one ring?
As far as I'm aware, there's nothing explicitly against it. It does need to be launched from a robot. We do not care what color the robot is. We care what color the power shot is that is knocked down. If that happens to be by, two birds with one stone kind of methodology, okay, great. But I think that might be a challenging feat to accomplish in one shot.
And speaking of launching rings, does the whole robot have to be behind the launch line in order to do so, or can a part of it, such as an arm, extend past the launch line?
When carrying about in and those kind of items, we want the entire robot to be completely in. That includes your appendages, your launcher mechanism, your drivetrain base, those kind of things. They do make it clear that incidental, kind of accidental going over the line a little bit is okay, but maybe if your drivetrain is just behind the line and your arm sticks out like this, that's pretty blatant extension outside of the launch zone.
Thank you. Another question for you, Kat. Is a team allowed to intentionally squish the rings, or would that be considered field damage?
As long as the ring does not have physical deformation or damage, so if the ring looks how it started after you've squished it, then that's fine. We don't want to see any little chunks coming out of it, any cuts, and we don't want it to be a taco when you're done with it. So as long as it's basically looks the same when you're done with it, that's not field damage.
All right, a couple questions here about those taped out red and blue boxes. One person in the chat is wondering, what is the purpose of those 3 boxes?
So those are target zones. They're labeled A, B, and C. So the one closest to the front of the field is A. The one in the middle is B. That's where Jonathan's helping to demonstrate. So that one's currently in B. And then C is the furthest back. Those are randomly assigned. So you will have one that's the target that is randomly assigned before the match begins. That will be the goal location to put the wobble goals during autonomous. You will know that by how many rings are in the pre-stack between where the robots start and the target zones there at the back of the field. If there is 0, it's A. If there's 1 ring in the stack, it's B. And then if there are 4 rings in the stack, it's C. C being the one furthest in the corner. So that's what those are for. They do need to be somewhere that you guys pay attention to. When moving the wobble goals to the drop zone, the wobble goals do have to start in one of those target zones or outside the launch zone. So make sure you guys are at least getting wobble goals to the back of the field during driver control period if you did not do so already in autonomous.
Excellent. One last question for you, Kat, before we give you a bit of a break. Thanks for giving all these excellent detailed answers. I know our viewers are very appreciative of them. Speaking again of those target zones, how will a team determine if it's A, B, or C for the autonomous period during a remote event?
Sure. It should be included in the remote control hub software. So it'll be part of the process. Currently, most of the meets and other live events that we did last year, we have game control software that randomly assigns a number between 1 and 6, and then those numbers 1 through 3 and 4 through 6 are both associated with the A, B, or C random positions. So if you guys are using the remote control hub software, you should be able to do that. It should be an automatic part of the setup. And then if you guys are doing paper scoring, which we recommend against it as long as you guys have the capability of doing the scoring through the remote hub, please try and do that. You can roll a die or use a random number generator to generate A, B, or C positions. Again, using something like 1, 2, and 3 for A, B, C, 4, 5, 6 for A, B, C.
All right, thanks, Kat. Just a note from our moderator team. They have seen that Game Manual 2 is live on the Game Resources page on the First Inspires website. So if you have been looking for that, we do know that it is for sure downloadable there at this time. As Kat said, double check your definitions, double check your game rules before you go anywhere with the Q&A or you go anywhere with your design. Make sure you know everything in that manual before you move forward. We have a few questions on the field side of things, but they do move into rules a little bit and kind of the structure of the season in Illinois, so I'll do my best with them. So first of all, teams are asking if they are using a field, for example, do they have to use a red or blue side in particular? Does that matter? Would they have to set it up backwards, for example, to do both?
Well, I would set it up correctly. So you can order the half field either red or blue.
And both are okay, and they can use a half for a remote score?
Right. That's so when you do the red, you just move the second wall on the right side. If you do a blue, you do the second wall on the left side.
All right, thanks, Jonathan. I do know a few teams and students are still a little bit confused about how remote meets work, about how remote events work going forward. There's still some confusion about whether there will be team scores combined or if there will be alliances for those events. So I was wondering if you could maybe go over what that structure looks like.
So first off, in the era of COVID, you can't have more than 50 people at any one event. So that's why our events are all remote, at least initially through January. Before I explain, I also want to let you know that there's a coaches meeting next Thursday night. So coaches can call in, that's in the email. I'll get back to the question in a second, but we want to show you remote live driving from California. So the robot you're going to see is driving over the internet from California. We hope. Go.
Yeah.
And so This is sort of a demonstration of a way to deal with COVID driving practice, where you don't actually have to be in the same room if you are worried about getting some drive practice in. This is not necessarily for competition, but it is a really cool technology that's relatively easy to implement. Again, our driver is in California. Okay, back to your question again, Ryan, or before you remind me what I didn't answer.
I'm not 100% sure. A little tough to hear you, Jonathan. I think you did address the majority of our question. I think teams are still wondering if there are alliances for remote events. I think.
Okay, so right. So in any meet, there is no alliances. In a league championship, if league championships are remote, there are no alliances. In the state championship, if it's remote, there's no alliances.
All right, that is super helpful. Thanks, Jonathan, for clearing that up. I think that will address a lot of the confusion about a remote event versus an in-person event. We might get a few questions on that. Go ahead, Kat.
Can I chime in here? If you guys double check the game manual part 1 for remote events, it does specify that the advancement criteria, so teams that are advancing to the next level of competition, the wording has been changed on there from the winning alliance team members to highest ranking. So please take a look at that as well and make sure you kind of know that there's some term differences, especially with those remote events.
Excellent, thank you. So one more time, just putting it out there so everyone can hear that. During a remote event, there are no alliances. Everything is done completely independently. So remote events, no alliance selection, no winning alliance. All teams are competing independently.
And based on what Jonathan said, I know teams were wondering about fields, so a half field is appropriate for scoring during a remote event.
Heading back over to you, Kat, a couple more questions that have come up in the last couple minutes in our Twitch chat. On the solo field, how will we not score in the other team's goal?
Okay, so there's no other team's goals. They're all your goals. The low goal is yours. The middle goal is yours. The top goal is yours. So what they've done is just kind of undid that swap for the middle goal. And you can score low points, you can score mid-height points, and you can score the high goal points. So it's all yours. There will be no score accumulated for any other teams.
Cool, and it sounds like you addressed another question we had in the chat right there, which, when playing in a remote event, you will be able to score in the middle part of the tower?
When you are playing a remote event, you will be able to score in any of the goals on the tower.
Excellent, thank you. So that addressed multiple questions, so thank you for that. Another question we just got, can you control 2 wobble goals at the same time?
No, that one is covered in the possession rule, which I believe is GS6, unless they've changed the numbers on me, which if you guys are reading the manual right now, please be aware that a lot of the rules in the general game rules are still there, but they've been renumbered. So just to confuse us. So make sure you review those. They have renumbered a few of the rules, at least the version that I saw. So.
Thank you. I actually only have one more question for you, Kat. If anyone else has a question they would like to pose to our head referee, Kat Svoboda, please put that in the chat. We're coming to the end of our questions for her, so your question would be answered pretty quickly. The question here is, will we need to program a red run?
At this point, I do not know off the top of my head if you are required to or not. I would highly recommend that you explore both a blue alliance position and a red alliance position. the goals in the field, you should be able to rearrange those. And I'd recommend that you pursue both. Also, when buying from Andy Mark, there's both a blue field version or a red field version, but they are pretty easy to flip-flop around. So I don't know whether or not it's required, but I highly recommend you program for both and design for both.
All right, 2 more questions for you, Kat. If you have questions about the field or you want to see any more of the field, make sure to ask in the chat as well. Right now, we're kind of addressing things as they come up. So, Kat, at traditional events, will there be alliance selection?
Yes, traditional events will culminate with elimination matches with an alliance selection. They will be played basically like we've seen traditional events played in the past. So there will be that element of an alliance selection. If you listen to Jonathan's segment earlier on, we are looking at trying to push the state event out later in the year than it typically is held. And that's to facilitate hopefully having a in-person traditional event, because we know that that's a large exciting factor is getting to pick your alliance, getting to play with the teams that you kind of spend a lot of time scouting, and kind of having those exciting matches at the end of a championship. So.
All right, thanks. This is a question a little bit more on the judging side of things. So Kat, as you're familiar with the game manuals, and Jonathan, just from the program perspective, I'm not sure who would be best to answer it. But a team is wondering that for their engineering portfolio, are they allowed to use active links for judges to click on and then interact with in that engineering portfolio?
Probably not. So the materials will be submitted electronically to the judges in advance of the judging sessions. All judging will be remote, even if we have live in-person tournaments. So I guess I would say that you could include electronic links in your portfolio, but you couldn't, the expectation that somebody follows them is low.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. That's pretty helpful. So saying that again, just in case it was a little difficult for you to hear, well, you can include those active links inside your judging documentation and your engineering documentation. You should not be assuming that judges will be clicking on those. Odds are pretty slim that they will. They do have a lot to go through after all. A question for you, Kat. Someone in the chat is wondering, are you allowed to use lasers or something like limelight or computer vision for targeting purposes?
Sure. I'd recommend you read Game Manual Part 1, Rule RE 13. This has been available for a little while now, but specifically on lasers, it says functional and/or decorative light sources, including LEDs, are allowed with the following constraints: focused or directed light sources, for example, lasers and mirrors, are not allowed, except for the Rev Robotics 2-meter distance sensor, and it provides a part number. So please take a look at that. There's pretty good descriptions on what's allowed and not allowed. There's more bullet points to that rule that I'm not going to read aloud. And if you do have any questions on that, there is opportunity to post things in the game Q&A if you have a particular product you're looking at using. As far as detecting targets and things like that, please be aware that with the RevHub stuff this year and everything, they are promoting the use of some of the cameras. So please look at the video camera rules. That might be a good option for you guys.
Thank you. Another question for you. Can a team individually move both wobble goals in the autonomous period if they're running a remote meet?
For a remote meet, your set of game materials will include 2 wobble goals. As far as I have found, I have not found a rule or any restrictions on moving both of the wobble goals, except for the fact that you can only move one at a time. So as far as I'm aware, that might be something that might be a a possibility this year. I haven't seen anything to the contrary.
Excellent. Next question, how long can you be in possession of a wobble goal, and or what window is a team allowed to be in possession of the wobble goal?
You're making me read the rules. So possession of a single wobble goal, there's no time limit on that. You could potentially start the game and run the whole game and hold the wobble goal the whole time, as long as it is your wobble goal. Don't take up other people's wobble goals. So do not, if you are in a traditional event, do not take the opposing alliance's wobble goal. But there is no time limit, but you should be aware of the limits on scoring. If you check the in-game section, your wobble goal must start in-game on the back side of the field outside the launch zone. So if you're in possession of the wobble goal at that time, it needs to be on that side of the field.
Awesome. And then one last question for you, Kat. Are you allowed to stand by the low goal and score while the human player feeds the rings back?
So rings have to hit the ground in order to be scored later. So you cannot catch them with the robot. You do need to be, we need to see them hit the ground, hit the tiles, hit the floor, and then you can pick them up and put them back. But as far as just shifting back and forth between scoring and then picking one up and scoring, I don't see anything against that in particular.
Excellent. Thank you once again. And thank you to both Kat and Jonathan for all of these great answers to the questions we've been getting from our teams. Certainly one of the more unique games that we've seen in several seasons, and a lot of great questions coming because of that. We're about to wrap up our Illinois Kickoff broadcast, but before we go, Jonathan, Kat, do either of you have any last thoughts you'd like to share with our audience?
Make sure you remind your coaches, your mentors to check the emails. There's some COVID mitigation grants available. Buy a second drivetrain, sanitation funds, rookie grants that are for Illinois teams, second-year grants. If you're a Chicago team, have your mentor talk to me. I have some special pot of money for Chicago teams. I want to give a big shout out to Turbocharge and everybody who worked on this program. They've actually spent dozens of hours on this, and big shout out to them for all the work, and Kat for preparing, and hopefully we'll be live for the state championship.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any last thoughts from you, Kat?
Sure. Just a reminder, we're kind of in exceptional times here, and that kind of requires exceptional behavior. We hope everyone will be super honest with their scoring, with their robots, everything like that. We're going to provide a lot of opportunities for you to interact with judging staff, inspection staff, referee staff. I know you guys just got that game manual part 2 in your hot hands, so it'll take a little bit to digest all of the rules. I know there were a lot of initial questions today, but hopefully as you guys read the rule manual, you'll have more questions or I guess some other thoughts on the two different styles of gameplay this year. And we're going to provide opportunities for you guys to ask those questions and get them answered and try and get some interaction with our volunteers this year. So I'd recommend you guys also try to interact with each other, try and post your designs, your robots, your build, your testing, your progress, any practice matches. You can post your remote event matches as well. And I also wanted to highlight, we will be doing a kind of, we will be highlighting some matches when they happen. So we highly recommend you post your videos just to show everyone what you are doing, including the volunteer staff as well as other teams.
All right, thanks so much, Kat. Again, huge thank you to Kat and Jonathan. They are going to be signing off now, and Ryan and I are going to be coming back on video. Bye, Kat. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Jonathan. It is a lot of work to set up that field, so great job. Good job getting it all set up. It looked fabulous, and I know that our teams really appreciated seeing it. So huge shout out to those staff for doing that. Ryan and I are back, and we're just here to thank you all so much for joining our broadcast today. It was a huge endeavor with several volunteers involved working over the last few weeks to get this happening. So thanks for joining us. Thanks to that team of volunteers. Ryan, do you have any closing thoughts?
I just want to remind everyone, if you haven't already, please make sure to sign up for our Go Build a giveaway. And thanks again for Go Build a for giving us those goodies to give away to some of our awesome Illinois teams that have been with us today. This is the first time we've done an Illinois remote kickoff like this, and we have just been blown away by the number of people viewing, the fact that teams from other states have been joining us. We're really excited, and hopefully we were able to provide a great day of programming for you. And thanks for coming on out. Have a wonderful season, teams. Hopefully we'll have the opportunity to see you in person. But if not, we're excited to see what you're able to come up with and what your team is able to share on social media.
All right, thanks again, everyone. We're going to be rolling a quick credits, but we will see you around. And thank you once again. Bye, guys.
Good luck, teams.